Welcome back to Sports Gambling Podcast, the NFL Draft Preview. This is the Mason Graham episode. We're going to give you 3 positives, 3 weaknesses. We're going to go through 3 comps and give you some comparisons or some potential draft spots for him. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what to expect. Mason Graham, you're going to hear a lot about his arm length and his size. He's not Jalen Carter or Chris Jones, a massive guy. And Daniel Jeremiah said he saw him without pads on, saw him in warmups, and said, I'm probably too high on this guy. And then he saw the game and he said, nope, he's exactly where he needs to be. He's a dominant player. Last year, he had 3.5 sacks, 45 tackles, and 7 tackles for loss, projected to be a top 5 pick. A lot of the stats don't show up in the box score because he eats up double teams. He eats up blocks for everyone else around him, and he's a run stuffer. He doesn't necessarily always get the credit for the tackle, but he disrupts the play almost every single down. So let's talk about it. Daniel Jeremiah and PFF are in on him as the 4th overall player in this draft. Strength for him is that he's an ideal 3 technique with his size and power. His athleticism with his first step quickness. He was second in QB hits. He had 5 sacks as well. Strength is his quick twitch movement. This guy has quick feet for a big guy, and he's got that first step quickness, that to get inside of guards and centers and win early. And then he has a relentless motor that just overwhelms them once he gets them on their heels. His hand and feet, always, that first punch. He's got that wrestling background, so he just has good sense for leverage and good sense for his technique. PFF graded him as the number 1 defensive lineman in the draft, and against the pass rush, he was 8th. His lateral quickness makes it difficult for defenders that are trying to get him on pulls and reaches. He's too slippery. He gets in the backfield and just very disruptive. Number 1 rated run blocker. And as for the weaknesses, like I said, the shorter arms, it's going to get him. Needs more strength for the bull rush and to be able to just sit down and create a anchor. So sometimes double teams will move him. And when it comes down to bull rushes, we'd like to see some more power. And that's something that could come on as he grows into his body. He's still just 21 years old. And the comparisons, Christian Wilkins was Lance Zierlein and Bleacher Report. And we've seen Ed Oliver as another player comparison and Harrison Phillips. And mock draft landing spots, this guy should be a top 10 pick, possibly in the top 5. You see a lot of teams are really putting an emphasis on the interior defensive line. We saw how Aaron Donald has kind of changed the position. You have all the teams. You look at Dexter Lawrence and you look at Jeffrey out of Tennessee and you look at Chris Jones and how dominant he is. And teams are going to they put more of a premium position on the interior just because they do want to push that pocket and create some problems for the quarterback, not just by doing it on the outside. A lot of teams have, a good defensive lineman in the middle that can both stop the run, but also attack the passer so they can stay on the field for all 4 downs. And that's where they have him going in the top 5. Jacksonville, the Raiders, and the Jets. This is a guy that you're going to see. You're going to see them have him going, between the 6th and 7th pick, the 8th pick. And so he doesn't make it past 7. So, I don't think this guy gets out of the top 7. I think he probably goes closer to 4 or 5, whether it's to the Patriots or the Jaguars. But I don't see him getting past the next wave of teams with the Raiders and the Jets. So this is the Mason Graham episode. Thank you for listening.